Hello everybody, welcome to this video. I'll be building my Albedo on a full EM build today. See how that goes, see how much EM he needs to be a proficient shielder with his stuff. Go over what he's good at, what he provides to the team, stuff like that. And if this build is even worth investing in, and stuff like that. So without further ado, I feel like Albedo had a pretty damn lackluster showcase before. So I'll put him in a bit of training montage right now, and we'll see how he turns out. So after that small training montage, how much stronger did my Albedo really get? Well, first off, I found some artifacts for him. I leveled him to 90 right here, as you can see. And that's about it actually. He doesn't need all I 90'd him, and I'm saying he doesn't need all that much investment. If you want to make this build work, you definitely need to put in a lot of work. Because, again, you're sacrificing damage for EM, which is not that great. As you can see, my defense is actually pretty low right here. It's about the same as my D-look, which either says that Albedo has bad defense or D-look has bad artifacts. And I think honestly it's probably a mix of those two. But he doesn't have the highest defense, as you can see right here. Then his elemental mastery is higher than the average, at about 500, and that's simply because that, well, it's an elemental mastery Albedo. As you can see, he has 51 to 156, which is a bit too much crit damage in terms of the crit rate, but it's fine. And then he has a lot of EM, and the reason why he has a lot of EM is because he provides a couple of different buffs actually for the team. The first one, of course, is the shield based on the EM that I mentioned from Crystallize. The second one comes from Homuncular Nature, which basically just says that when you cast Dispersed, the party members gain 125 elemental mastery for 10 seconds, which is a pretty nice bonus and can be used in a lot of teams. Personally, I feel like this would benefit like a Quicken or Aggravate team the best, so someone like Cyno could benefit from this a lot. So yeah, that's the reason why I invested so much into energy recharge, like 175, right? For the weapon, I felt like I had enough EM to where I could comfortably run my teams without getting bodied in the abyss by enemies. So I chose to go for the Harbinger of Dawn. Of course, if you have the what's it called, Cinnabar Spindle, I don't, because I was on a break when that came out. You can use that, and if you don't have enough EM on your artifacts or you don't feel safe enough, you can go for an EM option, and I'll get a bit into the different weapons later. Again, artifact set. This is the third bonus that Albedo provides. He's a pretty good Archaic Petra holder. Of course, he gives some Geo damage bonus, which is always nice for Geo characters. And then the 4 pieces was what's really important. It basically just says that whenever you trigger a crystallized reaction and then pick that crystallized shot up, you give all party members a 35% damage bonus for that element. That means that if Sino and Albedo trigger a reaction together and they pick up that thing, all party members get a 35% damage bonus for Electro. Pretty straightforward, and just a nice boost. It's basically a bit like the iridescent venereal, however you pronounce this word right here, but just a bit worse, because of course this one gives 40% and it's decreasing their resistance, which is better, I believe. So yeah, as for the substats, you can see this one right here, I'm really proud of. 10 crit rate and a bit of crit damage, and then EM and defense. Almost perfect artifact, I think. I don't know what substats would be best, but good substats all around. And you have this one, which is pretty good as well, with some ER and EM. This one over here, which is fine. And it's an ER sense, because again I need the ER to get the burst, so I can get the Elemental Mastery for my party. And then we have an EM Goblet right here on the right side, with some good crit stats and a bit of attack percent. And then we have this, I don't know why, but my worst piece on this Albedo is unironically the off piece for some godforsaken reason. I don't really know what happened there. But yeah, it gets a lot of crit damage, which is nice, I suppose, and then it's Elemental Mastery main stat, so not the worst one, but the worst one out of these artifacts, which is kind of shocking, I'd say. I didn't really get any good heads for my Albedo. So yeah, that's the build he's on. Next I'll be going into what kind of teams this Albedo with these 3 benefits. Again, I quickly summarize: the Crystallized Shards for the damage bonus, and the shield, and then the burst for the EM bonus. So, I'll get into the teams now. So, in terms of what kind of teams you can use Albedo in, there's one main problem, and that problem would be, is he better than Kazuha or other units that could fit into this team? And I'd say in most of the case, no. For example, in a team like this with Albedo National, which this team could definitely benefit off of Elemental Mastery that it gives, they wouldn't mind the EM shield, and they'd like the Archaic Petra damage bonus. But Kazuha would still probably just be a better option, or some other animal unit. So you can work on this team, don't get me wrong, but there are better options. This team, however, with an Electro character and a good Dendro character, I mentioned like Raiden and Nahida, this would be a pretty good team, because both Nahida, Albedo, as well as Sucrose would provide EM, and then Sucrose and Albedo would provide damage bonus for the Electro character, and it would just overall be a lot of damage in this Quicken or Sprint team or whatever it would be, right? So this is probably the premier team you can use him in, and it also means that you don't have to sacrifice like using Kazuha if it was Kazuha that you wanted to use instead of Sucrose. So yeah, I'd say something like this is probably the best you can use him in, and also what I end up going with. Then we have something like this. Again, he's not better than Kazuha by any means, so that's why I choose like try to see if you can fit him into a team with Kazuha or as a replacement to Kazuha if you're using him on the other side of the abyss or something like that. Again, like this build is good, but it's not like S tier or A tier or anything like that. It's probably like B tier. I'd say again, you're sacrificing a lot of damage and just getting some protection and a couple of buffs for your team. So it's good, but it's not broken by any means. Don't build your Albedo like this if you don't like Albedo and want to try something different. Okay? This is the team that I end up going with, the Sino Quicken variant right here. It's pretty similar to the one I mentioned before. I haven't built my Sucrose, so I'm using Kazuha, which also works nice because it gives elemental damage bonus or something like that. He's broken, is what I'm trying to say. So both him, Albedo, buff Sino, and then if I had Nahida or Baishu, I'd use them in this place instead of the Traveler. So yeah, again, it works really well because Sino doesn't really need anything else other than like Dendro character and then just like buffers right here, like kind of flex slots. You could do an Electro character as well, but then again, like if your Sino already gets enough energy, is there really any need for an Electro character? And I don't think so, at least. So that's why I think Albedo works pretty well in these teams that want EM and want a defensive option. Like, for example, even if I was running Nahida right here, Albedo would still be good. if I was running Baishu right here instead of the Dendro main traveler, I might switch out Albedo for something else that gives more damage, or run him on a damage build and still get the EM boost. So, all depending on what characters you have and what teams you're using Albedo in, he'll work better or worse. Makes sense. And the last one right here, again, it's kind of like the Vape team I mentioned before, like the national one. He works, no problem there, but Kazuha is just better. And that's the problem for a lot of characters. But again, if you like Albedo, you want to try something new, definitely go for this. I think it's a fun build to use on him. It's not like he loses all of his damage, you can still see his numbers, and he makes crystallized shields that you can run around and pick up. Make for some fun gameplay, I'd say. So, with the overall build finished for my Albedo, I want to go test him out somewhere. And sadly, there's only really one place to do that, which would be the Spiral Abyss, everyone's favorite. So I'll be going there. This cycle's pretty hard, I'll say right off the bat. I don't know if I'll be able to fatigue start, because I'm not even always able to do that. Last cycle I only got 35 once, and I've heard this one is pretty difficult. So we'll see how far I get, and if I rage quit along the way or something like that, which I've done before. Because the Spiral Abyss is pretty tedious, especially when it's hard. So yeah, let's just see how it goes. So for the first couple of chambers I kind of breezed through them. Not really much of an issue overall. Albedo protected pretty well against the stuff. There really wasn't any kind of danger of dying actually. So yeah, just breezed right through those. The first real problems showed up at floor 11, number 1, but that wasn't really Albedo's fault in any way, shape or form. That was actually my new Valet's fault for some reason. I don't know why, but he had a really hard time clearing the defendy thingy that you have to defend on the first floor efficiently. So like the first couple of times it got down to like almost 60% when it was Albedo's turn, and they couldn't clear it fast enough to like protect it while it had 5% health left for 3 stars. So I had to do that like 1 or 2 times, but eventually got it, so no big issue there either. And like, other than that one minor hurdle in floor 11, there wasn't really any other like big challenges in that floor. It all went by pretty smoothly, at least on Albedo's side. No real big challenges or anything like that. So overall smooth sailing, and I free start all the way up to floor 12. But after that overall pretty satisfying experience, it all kind of turned into a shit show. I couldn't really beat the next couple of floors, and I don't feel like it was really Albedo's fault. I just feel like my account isn't strong enough to beat these kinds of like late game content. Sometimes I can do it, and sometimes I can't, and this was definitely one of the harder abysses that I've tried, at least with these teams, which again it is my new Wallet team as well as my Sino team. So take that how you will, but it wasn't all that great. I believe I got 2 stars on the first chamber, and then 2 stars as well in the second one. But I couldn't bring myself to finish the third one. I did try, but I died. I believe, no, I didn't die. I typed out the first time, which was kind of annoying. And after doing the previous 2 chambers, I really didn't want to do the last one, even though I'm doing an Albedo video. It's just Spiral Abyss isn't always fun, or meant to be fun, for me at least. I feel like it's just a lot of bullet sponges from every now and then, but it is a pretty good place to test your characters. What I will say though was that I feel like Albedo's shield held up pretty well in terms of everything considered. My only defensive option on the Sino team was Albedo, and they made it through the first 2 floors relatively unharmed. So take that how you will. I say that's pretty well done for an EM crystallized Albedo. So yeah. And then there's, of course, he provides a couple of buffs with the EM and what's it called, the arcade picture set. So I feel like he did pretty well. Okay, so for this section right here, I'm going to go into like how much shield strength Albedo will give you based on his EM, right? You can see different EMs over here, and then there's calculation for the percentage increase of the shield strength. It uses this formula from the Genshin Impact Wiki, right here. So yeah, that's the one. The yellow ones marked here is if he uses Freedom Sworn, and he gets a lot of different stacks from all kinds of things. He can end up with an EM at about 1,400, yeah. Which is around the highest you can give him. You can probably give him some higher, but like again, it assumes that you have maxed artifact, this Freedom Sworn, like you have other characters that boost him and stuff like that. So again, it's not like you probably won't get this high. You'll probably get like around here somewhere in terms of your percentage increase. The weapons, again, I mentioned before, the Iron Sting and this this guy right here. Like he's about as good. Yeah, the Tokabu. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Doesn't really matter. These are fine. They give EM. What I would probably say, if you have it, the best free-to-play option is prop, and if you need EM, like more EM, I'd probably go for the Zephyr's Moonlight, because it also gives ER from its passive. But again, the one that gives the most EM is definitely the Freedom Sworn. If you want to use that, you can do that. Other than that, there are some other good options, like the Sapwood Blade, if you want some ER as well, and the LE Flash. Those are some options that you could use. I would say that you could also use the Cinnabar Spindle, and again, I use the Harbinger of Dawn because I have enough EM. I don't really want more on him. I tried the Spiral Abyss, and dying wasn't really an issue that I had all that much. So yeah, I definitely don't feel like you need this much like shield strength on him. My personal shield strength is about this much over here, because again I had 499 I think EM, and mine is level 90, so that means that he gets around 4,000 HP, 4,000 HP shield, which is considerably less than a lot of other shielders. But again, he can pick up crystallized shards all of the time basically, so it's not really all that big of a concern. So yeah, again, I'd aim for around 500, like anywhere between these guys. This is fine. Like you can probably get away with even just 300 EM if you want to. A bit more risky, I'd say, and you need to be pretty well good at the game if you want to do that. But you can definitely get away with it, I'd say. But yeah, aim for about 500, and then if you're not quite comfortable, go a bit higher. But again, the higher EM you go, the more damage you'll be losing out on, because EM only really helps with his defensive options. So yeah. So then, overall, what's my experience in this build? Like, is it worth investing into? And as a ground rule, I'd probably say no. It's not meta defining or anything like that. But it is a pretty fun build, and it makes Crystallize a tiny bit valuable, if that makes sense. Like, it's a decent reaction with this build, I'd say. Like, you can definitely use it to a decent extent, where it's actually the reaction is just, instead of just like completely just like smashing your head against the wall and just brute forcing everything with your characters, which is also pretty fun now that again. But like, this allows you to play Albedo in a different way, and if you already have an Albedo raised and for some reason you have a lot of archaic Petra pieces, go check if you have some EM ones, level those, and like see how it goes. Like, if you already have an Albedo, this isn't the most like rough character to farm for. Like, it's pretty decent if you already have a level. So like, yeah, definitely go check it out if that's something you want. Yeah, that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed it and want to see more of this stuff, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, you know, all that good stuff. This is my first video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm also kind of sick, so my voice has been kind of like muffled in this video. So sorry about that. But I still hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, have a nice day. See you.